All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Experience We Have podcast. Jeff Lavanio here, and my esteemed co-host, Mr. Ryan Keating.
Happy holidays, because it is the holidays now, but it's
when an episode not too far after the new year.
Happy 2019.
And we're here to talk about 2019 because we have some very special guests here. Barbara Lerner, current executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Chris Conway, the changing of the guard, coming into. Is it official now? Is it?
It is.
We're overlapping, so
okay.
She's outgoing, I'm incoming.
You're incoming. Right.
And we joke that Jessie is designated survivor.
Okay.
So she's never near us.
That she's never. That's perfect.
Just in case.
If that works for everybody, then it works. So.
Jesse's our third employee.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. So what we'll do is, or why don't we do this, Barbara? Kind of starting with you, right? So last 4 years, 4 and change years.
Yeah,
here
almost 5.
Almost 5 years at the chamber. Why don't we kind of take a quick backstory, take us through the last, when you started to now, what has evolved with the chamber, and then we'll switch it over and we'll kind of have questions for both of you.
Sure. So I had been a member of the chamber when I had a retail jewelry store in West Hartford Center. And then when I went to work for Blueback Square, I actually sat on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. So I was really familiar with the chamber and their process. I thought they did a great job in town. Quickly, things changed at the chamber. I had left my job at Blueback Square and found out that the chamber was looking for an associate director. I had applied for that job and was told, no, we're going to make you the executive director, because the executive director was also leaving. So it'll happen very quickly. I personally thought it was a perfect fit for my skill set. I had been a small business owner. I had been president of the Business Association in West Hartford Center. I had been president of the Business Association in downtown Hartford. And I had been a market manager at Blueback Square. So all of those skills really kind of melded into what the chamber does.
Yep.
The chamber was successful when we came in. They had about 450 members. But I came in with strength that the previous administration did not have. And always, when you have a new person coming in, they come in with fresh ideas and excitement. Sure. And so we made a lot of changes. And I was lucky enough to be able to hire my associate director, turned out to be Morgan Hilliard Evans. Mm-hmm. And we worked really well together and had a lot of the same ideas. She was from a slightly younger demographic. She was under 30, and that was a different perspective for the chamber. I think the people out in the general public who don't know the chamber think of it as an old men's group. Absolutely 100% wrong. And,
right.
I would say almost half our membership is women and young women.
Wow.
So, so we really worked on changing a lot of the perceptions of the chamber and raising our profile and getting more involved in the community. And I think that's where I leave it, and in turning it over at this point to the new executive director who's coming in with his own wonderful ideas. We can only go, to higher places.
So perfect segue. Congratulations on the past almost 5 years and what you've done for the chamber. And then, Chris, why don't we get a little quick bio on you, and
Sure.
We'll take it from there.
So I spent most of my professional career working for Barnes & Noble. I worked there for 19 years.
Okay.
And when I started with them, they had 72 stores, and when I left, they had 1,600. So I was very, very intimately involved with the growth of that organization. After I decided it was time to leave and move on, I decided to go into the insurance business. It was an industry that had served my father very well in his career. And it was there that I basically discovered chambers of commerce. Barnes & Noble really wasn't involved in their local chambers.
And what type of insurance was it?
I started in life and health and ended up in P&C.
Oh, I think Ryan has some knowledge behind that.
He does.
No?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No.
Okay.
Doesn't know what P&C stands for.
Chris was actually my insurance agent.
Oh, really?
I made him through the chamber.
Right.
See.
So I got involved with different chambers, and I was very active in this chamber just for networking, and I was a volunteer here. I actually was helped organize the golf tournament a few years ago. I was also on the board of directors with the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce. Was involved with Rocky Hill and some of the other chambers, around the greater Hartford area.
Yeah.
But I kept coming back to this one as far as where I saw the most potential for just really good camaraderie, networking, mutual beneficially networking, And really, this chamber for me became the gold standard for what a chamber could do.
Right.
I had decided that I'd had enough with insurance. I wanted a change, and what I did was I actually went to my fellow chamber members and said, "Listen, I think most of you people know me. You kind of know what makes me tick, and you know what I'm all about. If something comes down the pike that you think might be a good opportunity for me, just let me know. I'd like to explore it." Well, that opportunity presented itself in April of 2017. And through a friend, she let me know about an opportunity at the Waterbury Regional Chamber. They were looking for a membership director. So I went and I met with Lynn Ward, who's the president and CEO of that chamber. And we had a really, obviously a great conversation. She ended up hiring me. And what I felt I brought to the table there was a perspective. I had been an active member of multiple chambers. I had been on the board of a chamber. And really, kind of what is my mantra is that I've yet to find a business that chamber involvement doesn't make sense for.
Right.
There's many resources. The complexity of your business is really what dictates what resources that a Chamber of Commerce offers that you would take advantage of.
Right.
So I did that for about 20 months, and I was actually at a statewide meeting, speaking to chamber executives across the state about successful membership recruitment. Barb and Morgan came to hear me speak, and it was there that she let me know that she was retiring. And I thought it was...
Did I plant a seed?
Perhaps.
Yes, someone did.
And so I pursued this opportunity, and I'm very excited to be here. Like I said, I considered this the gold standard for what a chamber could be and should be.
Yep.
I've been working side by side with Barbara now for 3 weeks, but I've always considered her a mentor because she really took this organization to the next level. And I think one of the things, even in my role in Waterbury, and what I hope to bring here is reverence and respect for the past. This is a 100-year-old organization, over 100-year-old organization. It has evolved tremendously. To say that it had a quantum leap over the last 5 years would be a gross understatement. So my job is to take all the great things that we've got and build on them and try to bring us to the next level. The chambers of commerce are constantly evolving. The Chamber of Commerce really needs to present resources that are dictated by its members. And really, my goal is to find out what are your needs, and is there a possibility that we can be your partner in providing that.
Right, and so it sounds like chamber has run in your blood wherever you might have been for a while.
At least in the last 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, and I read that you were a 2016 West Hartford Chamber of Commerce Spotlight Award winner.
I was.
Right. Talk a little bit about that. Is that just from a volunteer perspective?
That was for the golf tournament.
Okay.
So,
that's a big event. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So Morgan, I think it was Morgan that gave me a call, and she of course just said, "You'd be a great person to coordinate the volunteers."
She's good at that. She was good at that.
She was, but honestly, what I brought to that was really my Barnes & Noble experience. In that 19 years, I ran staffs of anywhere from 40 to 105 with multiple departments, multiple complexities. So just kind of figuring out how to organize and get people motivated to be where they needed to be, do what they needed to do so that we could have a great event was just my goal. Yeah. And really, that was really just the way I was trained, and I'm just wired that way to do that. So it was very humbling that the board of directors saw that and gave me an award for that.
Perfect.
I also have another distinction in this chamber. I was the Ugly Sweater winner, I think in 2015.
Oh,
yes,
wow!
Yes.
All right, so that the holiday party.
Yes,
the holiday party.
I was, and I guess getting the job as executive director fills out the hat trick.
Can you explain what that sweater was, or is
it was just a total disaster. I had not given it any thought, and I was at work, and one of my coworkers really decked her office out like to the nines, and I just went in there and I said, "All right, I need all this stuff. Just pin it to me." And she did, and I just showed up.
Oh, so it was a homemade deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't one of those ones you buy.
I basically took all the stuff off of her tree, her walls, her door.
Those are the best ones.
Those are the best ones.
Yes.
Yeah. Creativity is perfect.
Yeah. Well, so one thing you're also good at, and I was thinking back when you mentioned how you Connections is when we first met.
Yes.
And you were saying you were looking for jobs. I was like, oh, that's about 2 years ago, in April of 2017. Oh, no, so
Yeah.
a year, but no, 19.
Or was it 19?
Close.
It's about 20 months ago.
But you also can write Gaelic.
Yes. So,
And speak it.
I speak a little, so I need to clarify something, especially since I have a
It's a fun
Keating
fact.
next to me. Irish people speak Irish, they actually don't speak Gaelic. Scottish people speak Gaelic. They speak Irish Gaelic. But I also bring to my position an entrepreneurial spirit. I did co-found a company with my wife. That really is my wife's business now, and that's her form of, that's her job.
Okay.
But she creates Celtic artwork, writing in an old alphabet that was the first way that ancient Irish was written out. And she creates, all sorts of necklaces and prints and all of that. So I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I think that's another way that I'm able to connect specifically in this chamber. This chamber is very different from Waterbury. Waterbury, while it's larger, I think that there's a higher percentage of entrepreneurs in this chamber, a higher percentage of people that just have really cool ideas and they've been willing to run with them. And I think that that is a way that the chamber has been able to benefit them, because you can go to Connections and you have this great idea, but you don't know, if you're going to create something that people are going to eat, you need insurance, so you can connect with an insurance agent like Brian.
Right.
You need to market yourself, so you can go talk to Dave Calaby about how your branding and web presence could be. You can go, you decide you want to put a video component, you get Dave Chmielewski. I mean, I can just rattle off all the names of basically you could build a business by going to Connections.
Yeah, it almost acts like an incubator.
It is,
right?
yeah.
You're going to network with people that are different components of your business, and they're subject matter experts that you're not necessarily, and I've definitely made a number of connections from there that helped me out in
Right.
building my business.
And it's really interesting. I mean, I think we cover pretty much every category of business. So the real estate agents are networking with the home inspectors and the house painters and the roofers and the builders, and that runs in all different directions in our AM Connections.
Right.
One other thing I was thinking, so Waterbury has Oakdale, there's multiple chambers in one.
Right, so Waterbury is what's known as a regional chamber. There's 8 of those across the state. So the Waterbury Regional Chamber is also affiliated with the Naugatuck Chamber and the Watertown Oakville Chamber. When you're a member of any one, you're by basically residual membership in all 3. It's really just a branding thing. So if you're in Naugatuck, you have a Naugatuck plaque saying that you're in the Naugatuck Chamber. The Waterbury Regional Chamber covers 14 communities, so it's spread as wide. West Hartford, while we draw from 40 different communities in this chamber, we really are West Hartford centric.
And how many? I know I've heard before people that don't, people think West Hartford, you have to live or have your business in West Hartford, but how many different towns are represented?
Oh, we
We
cover
think, yeah.
businesses that are all over the country. So we have one member whose main office is in Utah, but their salespeople are here.
Right.
So the salespeople may be under that umbrella, but they live here. I say we cover every community.
Yeah, pretty
We
much.
really do. If anyone wants to do business and not just West Hartford, in the general area.
Yeah, it's just like what's going on online. You don't need to be near your customers or your target market or anything. And I think the chamber, in some regard, it's not. You can have that extension. To exactly what Barb said. It's the community you want to do business in is really why you want to be a part of the chamber. Certainly, it's great that if your business is here, you certainly should be a member of the chamber. But also if there's opportunities for you to do business in that community.
Yeah, and chambers are really kind of the original social network. And if you're really going to dial down, it's more like the original LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It absolutely is.
And there's a gentleman who's Washington D.C. has the parent chamber, right?
Yeah, the United States Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. And then they do more lobbying.
They are mostly a lobbying organization, and we are actually not affiliated with the United States Chamber of Commerce. You have that option. We are an independent Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
So, we don't have a corporate office or.
So where's your funding come from mostly?
Membership
Membership
dues and
events and sponsorship.
Sponsorship, okay.
So if you're listening to this podcast, mention it and you get 10% off your membership fee for new members.
Probably not. We
Expiring in
We
2018?
don't run holiday specials. But what we would like people to know is that we are not a not-for-profit.
Right.
The money we take in is the money that we put out.
Yeah.
We do $5,000 in grants every year. That's something new. This will be the third year.
Right.
2019 will be the third year we were giving $5,000 out in grants. And that's because we were able to bring in enough money to cover something like that.
Right.
That really is our mission.
Right.
You know, it's not just about having businesses network and, you know, create that synergy and
Mhm.
relationships. It's about being part of the community.
Mhm.
And the chamber is really an integral part of the community. And that's what I have worked for in the past 4 years. That was one of my priorities, to raise our profile, to let people know what we are and what we do and who we are, and to work with the nonprofits. In the 4.5 years I've been here, we have increased the number of nonprofit members by 100%. And they are really an important part of our membership. We donate lots back to our nonprofit
Mhm.
members. Every year at a golf tournament, we would give a golf prize. Now, if you guys golf, you know how many new towels or head covers or sleevables do you need. We took that $2,000 and we have our board choose a different nonprofit member every year, and we give that $2,000 to that
That's great.
nonprofit, and we present it at the golf tournament.
Well, and beyond the chamber, doing those types of things, you take AM Connections, there is very, I would say 10% of that room is nonprofit representation.
Right.
And somebody, we'll use the Ron Foley Foundation, for example, they're talking, they're talking about pancreatic cancer. 80 people in the room, that may have really affected their life, and now you've created a partnership with another business owner that actually did happen. Harmony Jewelers did a special jewelry piece for them a couple of years ago.
Right.
And those are the connections that I think is vital. And Barb and I were just talking about this nonprofit issue this morning, and I'm a huge fan of nonprofits being members of the chamber. So if you are a nonprofit and you're not a member, I would love to talk to you about how it can benefit your organization in so many ways.
We'll just ask the Bridge, the American Cancer Society, or the
Food.
Ron Foley
Yeah,
Foundation, or
Food
Food Share.
Right.
Through a partnership, the chamber helped commit, what does the pen say?
Playhouse on Park.
Oh, Playhouse on Park.
Yeah.
Playhouse on Park was one of the recipients of our
grants.
grants. Food Share alone, in the past 5 years that I've been here, has probably been the beneficiary of about $25,000 to $30,000
Wow.
minimum that was helped put together with the chamber and our businesses in partnership.
Well, and on that too, Restaurant Week stemmed through the chamber.
It
correct?
did. So Restaurant Week was started with Liz Kayak from Fleming's and the Chamber. We had been talking for years about how we really didn't have a West Hartford
Yeah, we have
restaurant
a
week.
Connecticut
How
restaurant
crazy
week.
is that?
Yeah, never had a.
And there's another one coming up.
Yes, there is. January 7th to the 20th.
So this is going to air January 6th.
We're gonna put
All right,
this
so
out.
tomorrow
Yes.
night.
Tomorrow night, we've got our
You-
date.
You've got to hit West Hartford. We hope to by then have 40 restaurants signed on.
That's great.
That's our goal. I joke with Barb. I love parking my car and just walking every morning because we have the most amazing smelling downtown.
I'm sure.
in
Yeah,
America.
I'm sorry, I know.
Hey,
No.
Come to West Hartford for the food, but stay for the smell.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
And when we're coming in, they're doing bacon. So from the first West Hartford Restaurant Week, which was the last week of August, beginning of September, we raised $11,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
In one
amazing.
week.
Yeah,
For Food Share.
yeah.
And then there's the We Care card.
We Care card is done by the West
Yeah.
Hartford Center Business Association. For $50, you buy the card, and that $50 goes right to Food Share. I heard that it's going to be close to $18,000 this year.
Wow. That's great. So talk a little bit about, let's go into the change in the guard right now.
Right.
So, for the past few months, or so, a couple months, you've had a chance to work together.
Actually, only for 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Oh,
2.5
really?
weeks, yeah.
Okay, so 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They've been working a very short period of time. What have both of you identified as some of the initiatives, maybe definitely in 2019, but next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years I don't want to get into right now, because I need to take each thing in its turn, and that's really...
kids going to college and...
Yeah.
But, one of the things that, I've talked to Barbara about is, we look at something like AM Connections, where we get, a huge crowd, 70, 80 people.
Right.
We just had our holiday party the other night, and it was about we figure about 125 people there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing.
Yeah, we missed you guys.
Yeah.
Children come in the way. Yes.
And as impressive as those numbers are, that's still only a small percentage of the membership. And you need to, what I feel we could do is really identify those industries where the networking isn't really part of their business plan, and see if we can find ways to benefit their business.
Okay.
I think Restaurant Week is a perfect example. Very rarely would you go to an AM Connections or a business after hours and see a restaurateur. They can't be there.
Right.
They're in their business.
Right.
Same with a retail shop. Manufacturers, we have manufacturing members. Many things that are made in Connecticut, made in the region, are not used or sold or bought in the area, so that there's no B2C, there's no B2B, yet we have them as members. So what can we do to make sure that they are constantly seeing value on their investment in the organization?
To get those members that are more dormant or not as active, to get them to be more
Right,
active.
and for some of them, it's just really sometimes just being able to be a sponsor is enough for them. For some people, believe it or not, the sticker on the door, when you open the door and you see a proud member of the West Hartford Chamber with the current year on it, that actually means something to the business owner, but more importantly, it means something to the customer. I say this all the time. They have actually done studies, and they just asked the general public, what comes to mind when you see that a business is a member of the Chamber of Commerce? And 87% of people will say reputation.
Okay.
That being a member of the Chamber of Commerce dictates a good reputation. Whether that's actually true or not is completely on the shoulders of the business owner.
Sure.
But it gives off the impression. So I think that is something that maybe some business owners lose sight of, that it really does gives another level of legitimacy to your business.
So on one thing that I thought, I was here one day and a couple came in to the chamber. They were visiting town and they came here for resources.
Yes.
Happens all the time,
Yes.
and we get a lot of phone calls from people. I spent about 30 minutes on the phone the other day. Chris said, "Did you even make his hotel reservations?" This guy was coming from Florence, Massachusetts, not that far, an hour away, and he wanted a very special high-end restaurant. So I gave him a couple of names, and he said, "Well, and I think we want to stay overnight." So I said, "Okay, so I think Artisan and the Delamar, perfect. Park your car, they park your car. You have
Barbara
dinner.
park your car.
And it's there, and I think it would be the high-end experience you're looking for. Well, he went on and on and on.
Barbara, you're retiring. Maybe you get that's a future. You can
Well, if you give me a couple
cars.
of minutes as we get to the end, I'll tell you what I will be doing.
Oh, all right. Well, that question's on there, so good.
This guy could not have been happier. I know I did not make the reservation. I gave him the information to make the reservation. But people stop in all the time. We have our directories, which are a really important resource.
Yes, that was a nice new addition.
This will be the third year we're doing a directory. We have maps of the town.
Mm-hmm.
We know what's going on in town. We make suggestions. We tell them where to eat, theater to go to. And that's why we have to be informed as to everything that's going on in town.
Right.
And our relationships are very close with the entertainment segment, the restaurant, and the town itself. So.
And we were joking about her concierge service, but that truthfully is the way that I approach membership. I come from Barnes & Noble was probably only a half a click down from Nordstrom's when it came to customer service.
Right.
being somebody who started their own business, being somebody that was in the insurance business. And Ryan will tell you, you're insuring some very valuable things for people, and in some cases their life. You have to give a level of service, and I think Barb certainly has brought that to this organization, and I intend to continue that. Really making sure that the members get what they need.
Right.
And one thing kind of that came up before the Center Business Association, there's Park Road, Design District, Elmwood. And you sit in on all of the board meetings, or?
We go to all of their meetings. Thank goodness they only do on different days.
Yes.
I was at Park Road this morning. Park Road meets the third Friday of the month.
Which is why you can't go to Connections.
That is correct. And it was tough because I had not been to the Business Association meetings in a couple of months because I was at our Connections meetings. This organization really needs 2 people in the office because we do have conflicts. There are so many things going on.
Yeah, you
We
gotta be
try to
around town,
touch.
physically around town.
Right, we
yeah.
try to touch everything that's happening.
Yeah.
But Bishop's Corner meets the second Friday, Elmwood meets the first Friday,
Park
Park Road
Road.
meets the third Friday, Home Design District meets the second Wednesday, and the West Hartford Center Business Association is now meeting, I think, the third Wednesday or Thursday. They changed it. And they all have information that we think is important to our members.
Sure.
So it's important for us to be there.
And also for us to bring information about what's going on with us too, because
Right.
we do touch all the other ones to be able to bring news as to what's going on. And then, again, it's not a fully formed idea, but one of the things we've already started talking about is perhaps uniting them to do some
Yeah.
things together. With the chamber as the conduit for it.
Yeah. So you're listening.
Absolutely.
At these different meetings, and then how also are you using technology, not only from a listening perspective, but also a proactive, get the word out perspective about the chamber?
Instagram.
Just
What
started
is that,
this.
your first new initiative?
Yeah, I think
You're on
there's
Insta now?
day 2. And we even go to our Instagram page because we
All
are.
Chris.
Oh, we gotta link this
And
up.
it was a lot of fun because what I decided to do for our first picture was us cutting a ribbon in front of the chamber office. We literally cut the ribbon on our Instagram account.
That's amazing. That's a good first picture.
Yeah.
Instagram.
So,
hashtag.
So because
Ribbon cutting.
of my entrepreneurial background,
Yeah.
I do bring probably a different level of understanding of the ways that social media can benefit the organization, really for getting the message out about us, but really it's a powerful way to highlight our members.
Right.
So if you don't like our page or follow our accounts, I encourage you to do that. I feel that the 80-20 rule needs to apply to what we put out there. Truthfully, 20% of it should be about us and our organization. 80% of it should be about our members.
Right.
And that's kind of
That's a good way to
what
put
the
it, yeah.
approach that I think would take, because it's great for you to leverage your social media about something you're doing, but if we can get our followers up with people that are part of the same organization of they're more inclined to share it, like it,
That's
tell
right.
their friends about it, etc. So please, follow it and look for those types of things.
Yeah.
And then always, you can always just tag us.
Right.
You got something, just say, hey, just wanted to let the West Hartford Chamber know about this.
What's going to be the official hashtag?
It's WH Chamber.
WH Chamber. All right.
WH
Hashtag it
We're
up.
really excited.
Hashtag it up.
But which is kind of, and that's a good segue to Flow, which is the Future Leaders of West Hartford, the Younger Professional Initiative. And what, 2 years now? 3?
2 years.
2 years, I should maybe know, but.
You should know.
It's
Since you
Christmas.
helped start it.
Well,
Ryan did kind of start
It's
it.
Christmas. You were going somewhere. It's Christmas in 3 days. I mean, it's been a fast year.
Yeah.
But when Flow was getting going, and that social media was a very, it was.
Yeah, it was
especially in
instrumental.
This
Yeah.
is kind of a flow into that. But Instagram, Facebook were a big foundational part of that.
Yep.
So it's.
So Flo has a social coming up
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
January
24th.
24th
Perfect.
Yeah,
at
the
Fleming's.
All right.
Yeah, from 5:30 to 7:30.
But talk about Flow and what it's done for the chamber, and then what you see in building that.
Well, again, we were trying to change the perception that the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce
Old
is
men.
a bunch of old men. And we thought, what better way than young professionals? Because we did have a lot of young professionals coming to our meetings and joining the chamber. So Ryan helped, who really came with a background in having started a group like that in Texas. And Morgan and I really needed that push and that information. So Flow was started. They have their own board of directors. They have their own committees. It is an extension of the chamber. We do things together, but Flow really has their own philanthropy group, their own events. The next event is at Fleming's. A lot of the events are at restaurants, which is really nice. It makes for a nice social atmosphere. For
And it
the
gets exposure for the
professionals.
restaurants too.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
But for the young professionals, get together after work.
Yeah, great.
We do, the chamber does a weekly business after hours, and we do get a lot of the young professionals coming to our business after hours, depending on the location. Some are more exciting than others. But we don't want to have totally separate organizations. They are their own separate groups, but I think it's important for the young professionals and the more seasoned business people to get together and talk about things.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's great potential, and it looks like the groundwork is already there for the last 2 years for a truly symbiotic relationship. So I come from Waterbury, which has a very successful young professionals group. It's called Y Power, and Y Power was actually started a little different than Flow. It was Waterbury runs Leadership Greater Waterbury, and that leadership program has a project component to it. And one of the chamber employees was going through the program, and her group said, we should start a young professionals organization, and that's where it came from.
Same way Hype started, actually,
Yes.
Yeah.
through LGH.
Is it?
So I have a very favorable impression of young professionals organizations. I've only been here for 2.5 weeks. I haven't had a ton of time to really talk to the folks at Flow. I have spoken to Kristen Gorski, a bit, but I'm very excited that there already is such an organization here, and trying to figure out ways to do exactly what Barbara said, to have some independent programming, but then what are the commonalities where the organizations can come together and benefit, and I've thought about different professional development type things that perhaps the facilitator could be a more seasoned chamber member, but we would try to help the young professionals with the challenges of being a young professional, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The young professional sharing some insight onto some ways that the seasoned people can maybe change their perspective and maybe look at things a little different without being overwhelmed by it. I think that there's great potential for symbiotic partnership between the organizations, and they are affiliate organizations. I'm just looking for the best way for them to work together.
I like how you say seasoned, because that was something that it stemmed from, people don't like to be called old.
No, nobody likes to
And
go.
you're always young at heart, but seasoned is such a great term to use because you have experience, you've gone through different phases of life and job, and you have something to teach people.
Right, but at the same time, I think with all of that wisdom, I think, and I've seen examples of this all the time, for maybe somebody who's a little bit more, we'll use social media, a little bit more social media savvy, to say to somebody,
Skews younger as opposed to older.
say, I know you've had let's say your law firm. You've had your law firm for 30 years and you've had a successful business. Have you thought about maybe getting your story out a little bit more through social media?
Right.
And maybe that's the conversation that needs to happen, and the wisdom actually comes from the younger person.
Right, and then a lot of times that law firm says, well, why do I need to do that?
Right.
Well, because the other law firm is starting to do it.
Right.
And they're starting to get more clientele, so that's the reason. It becomes a kind of that zero-sum game where you gotta kind of catch up, so.
I just helped my dad update his email signature the other day.
Good fish.
So millennial of you.
One thing I noted, and I thought back, when we started Flow, we did a survey, actually a great response. I think it's 70 or 80 people respond to the survey and what people wanted at events. We're talking about the business after hours, connections in the morning, but I want to say it was almost 80% want the educational or speaking type events.
Yeah.
Correct.
Definitely on my radar. I think it's a great opportunity. But what I keep saying is each thing in its time, but it's definitely a high on the list of priorities, because I think that is the way that both organizations can work together. Yeah.
Well, the chamber does, there's a health fair, there's a good amount
Oh,
of,
we have a lot of things going
Yeah.
on. So we have 4 signature events a year. It's the Mayor's State of the Town Luncheon, which is
Yeah.
January 31st, so they'll be shortly after this.
Yeah.
A lot going on in January.
and
Yeah.
Sherry's gonna be a
And-
guest.
Yes.
Yeah, Sherry's still our mayor.
Yes,
She will be,
we
she's
invited her.
our main speaker. It will be at the Del Mar Hotel again this
Again,
year.
they did a
It
great
was
job
there
last
last year.
year,
It was
so, yeah.
sold out.
Yep.
Is it 200 people?
200 people last year.
Yep.
It was their first really big event at the Del Mar, and they did a wonderful
We will
job.
link that up on this.
In April is the Economic Development Luncheon, and it's typically the
That's a good
4th
one.
Thursday
Yeah.
of the month.
Mhm.
It has been at Wampanoag in the past, it may be there again. In June is our annual meeting, and typically at the Pond House. And August, December is our golf tournament. But we are actually looking to change things up a little bit this year,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Not we,
Yeah.
Chris will be
Now,
changing
now
things
Chris,
this year.
so that's a great, maybe a great segue into Barbara as the sun sets over here.
Well, that sounds really
I
bad.
know.
Let's say, but you're gonna sail off into the sunset. How's
Okay, that sounds better.
What's next for you?
So, I will do nothing probably for a month.
Nothing sounds great.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And
hard
then
to
I've
think.
actually started a consulting company.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's called Event Mark. And I will be doing events and marketing, just a few, over the course of
What
the
you're really
year.
good at.
To
So
keep my
okay.
hand in the business, and I would really love to work with some nonprofits.
Okay.
And, donate some time. I'd love to do some volunteer work. There were lots of things I wanted to do, but this job really is a time and a half job.
Yeah.
It's early mornings and nights,
Mhm.
and I just was not able to do all the things that I'd like. I've worked my entire life. This will be the first time
Yeah.
I won't be working.
For a month.
For
For a month.
a month. And then you got a new venture. That's great.
Yeah.
So-
So it is very exciting.
Looking forward to that.
And it's been like the very long goodbye tour for me.
Yeah.
I've been saying goodbye now for 6 months.
She likes Cher.
Long retirement, going into retirement. Ryan, do you have any final questions? Because we'll get them, put them on the spot a little
Yeah,
bit.
well, one thing I wanted to touch on, so you mentioned community twice, and what the chamber's missions, goals, what it means is community you want to do business in, and then also being a part of the community. And then kind of touching on nonprofits and the membership there, and with Flow has done a lot of volunteer outreach, the chamber and giving back, but just talk on West Hartford and why it's the gold standard. Well, what makes
Well, for the chamber, it's just I was just so impressed, first of all, by the sheer level of engagement of the members, and the way that they would help people, and really, like today we were at AM Connections, and people who stood up and said, "This is my first meeting," everybody clapped for them. I can honestly tell you, I've never seen that in any other chamber.
How many people are you still getting at those meetings?
Yeah, there was 80.
That's great.
A couple weeks ago, and there was today was light at 64.
Because it's not a nice
Well,
day today.
yeah.
And it's running into the holidays, people taking
But,
off, so
but
yeah.
64
That's
people
great.
on the Friday before Christmas.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
during a monsoon, so
It is a monsoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, ask me the question.
so kind of gold standard, comparing Waterbury had the mix of regional chamber,
Right.
this being a town, community-based chamber, and what we offer in the town too, tying into that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Waterbury is intimately involved in their community. It was more when I went there, I had such a good impression of what a chamber could actually do that I brought some of that spark with me to Waterbury. I think in Waterbury, I was able to see a more complex organization.
Waterbury has 12 full-time employees.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a dedicated.
10,000 members, like that.
No, it's 1,000 members.
Oh,
But they had, a dedicated public policy and economic development director, a dedicated in-house graphic designer, multiple people on, finance and events and things like that. This is very different. The gold standard for me was really more about the level of engagement. You look at our ambassadors, our board members, our active members is really a core group of people that are engaged at the high level, the committee chairs and all that. But from them, there's just an engaged membership. And like I keep saying, just because they're not visible at events doesn't mean that they're not an engaged member.
Right.
I just want to make sure that they're being serviced.
Well, we look forward to the Chamber of Commerce continuing to
Yes.
be that gold standard, and we look forward to your future here, and welcome aboard
Thank
again,
you.
welcome to West Hartford,
Thank
so
you.
we're excited. We do have a final question, if you've listened to
Only
the
one?
podcast. It's a question for each of you, so I'd like to put you on the spot.
Yes.
We talked a little bit earlier about restaurants, smelling the restaurants, tasting. So, if you had one place to eat and one dish, where is it, and what do you eat?
Oh, that is really tough. The restaurant I would probably choose would be Brico.
Okay.
Could I choose one dish? Probably not. I mean, they have so many things that I really love, and it's always changing. That's really hard. We have so many
So
good
we
restaurants.
narrowed it down to Brico. Give us
Okay.
one, Barbara. You
The
got it.
lasagna.
The lasagna. Lasagna's fantastic. All right, good. All right.
So you'll come to find that I'm a brown bagger. I tend to bring my own lunch, but I have eaten lunch out once since I've been here. It was at Grant's, and it was their Reuben. And I am a New Yorker, and I figured, okay, let me see this. It was a really cool twist on a Reuben.
Really?
So I enjoyed it. The truffle fries are excellent.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, truffle fries are good.
it was the New York the standard the quintessential New York deli sandwich elevated.
Yeah, that's great. So the lasagna, Brico, and the pastrami,
That's-
the pastrami Reuben, right?
I believe it was.
That's really not a
I'm
fair
hungry.
question, because
It's not meant to be a fair
I
question.
know.
They're all,
They're- of
they
course.
really are.
Yeah.
I almost got hit by a car the other day, just looking around, saying, okay, where am I going to
There you
go?
go.
That intersection actually by Brico's though, right now, where the post office is, Arapahoe, Webster Bank, has been, with the holiday traffic, just people that are
Not
slowing
looking.
down, yeah.
Not
like-
looking, yeah, and then you know your
Well,
office is
and all
right
that
there.
it's all, the crosswalks, stop the crosswalks, a lot of out-of-state cars,
Don't know that you have
they
to
just
stop.
come flying and,
Yeah.
Ryan, one thing I forgot to, as you say that, because that's where your office is, typically where this podcast is. This is the very first
yeah.
podcast off-site.
Wow.
You traveled for us.
We traveled. It was a rough commute. It was a rough
we
commute.
are mobile,
Yeah, a quarter mile down the road.
a bit.
This is really great, and I really want to say that you guys are wonderful community members.
Yes.
Between everything the two of you do, I can't keep up.
can't even keep
I
up.
love reading about you on Facebook.
Social media.
And yes, all the social media, all the things that you do. And I really want to thank you. I mean, that just shows what the type of community that we have. That you do this on your own time. You create these podcasts and you interview community members.
Yeah.
So kudos.
More to come. Well, I'm sure we'll be interviewing more chamber members as well, so we'll
Absolutely.
get the word out. So,
Yeah.
good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Happy New Year.
The
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Oh,
2019.
Happy Valentine's Day.